Welcome to the Fayetteville Fire Podcast, your source for all the safety, fire, and sometimes random info you never knew you wanted. I'm Captain Steve Shakeshaft, your host for the podcast, and I've got the best job ever. Let's talk about it. What's going on, Amanda? How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
Hanging out. How was your New Year?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty chill and relaxed, but can't complain.
You got stuck working Christmas, didn't you?
I did, but no place that I'd rather be than with my fire family versus my family.
I think me and Chief Dove talked about it in the last podcast, that the fire station is probably the best Christmas you can have. Even sometimes if you have a family, having them come to the fire station is better than at the house.
Oh, yeah, definitely. My daughter was in town for college, so she came down with my son. We had a great family dinner.
Cool. So, little bit of background about Amanda Savage real quick before we get rolling. How long you been with the city?
About 7.5 years.
7.5 years, and new assignment you just got, I heard.
I did get a new assignment. I spent 7 years at Station 7 and finally got moved down to Station 1 Hazmat.
How long have you been at tech? Because you got tech a while ago, didn't you?
I did. I actually got tech during COVID. So I was one of the classes that had tech class during COVID that they were worried it was going to shut down, and then we ended up pushing through. So 2020 I ended up with my tech.
Okay. All right. So what's different? How's 7? Me and you were at 7 together for 3 years?
Yeah, since right when I got on, and then till you promoted.
Yep. And so, but you were at 7 for everything until then. So what's super different, if you can just think of a couple things about downtown?
So definitely just the district is different. The station's different. It's bigger. 7 was a home. It was a little home, which was very nice coming into the fire service and being a family. But then we got moved to 1 where it's bigger, it's busier, there's more people, there's more traffic.
Yeah.
But it's
a lot more equipment to take care of.
More equipment. I lost my room, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, they had the open bunk room versus bedrooms.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but
you got to listen to everybody all night long.
But I did get my own bathroom, so now I've got my own bathroom because I didn't have my own bathroom at 7. So pros and cons.
Yeah. All our new stations getting not unisex restrooms like they had back in the 80s.
Hey, we make it work.
We made it work. So one of the things that I've been thinking about, it's a new year. Everybody, when they're making New Year's resolutions, one of the most common is fitness, getting to the gym. A whole lot of people don't stick with that, that New Year's resolution. But when I came to 7 as a lieutenant, you had just started. And I tell this story all the time. And you may not even remember it, but I remember it like it was yesterday. We had a multi-company evolution simulated basement fire. And me and you go in together, and we have to get the victim out of the basement. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get the feet. You're going to get the uppers. We'll get them up the stairs. And you were like, no, I got this. And just picked that dummy up and walked it up the stairs. And I said, as long as I am at 7, Amanda Savage is never leaving. This is exactly what we need as far as physical abilities, and somebody who takes care of themselves. And I'm not trying to just blow smoke. But when I thought about fitness, you were the first person that came to mind. So little bit about your background on the fitness side, because were you into that? You were into that before you came to the fire service, right?
Yeah, so growing up, I was very into fitness and sports and kind of the tomboy, but I still probably play that role a little bit. So over the years, life got in the way. I gained some weight and then decided to make a change about 1.5 years before I came to the fire service. So I got back into fitness again, deciding that wasn't the lifestyle I wanted to live anymore. And I lost about 60 pounds prior to coming to the fire service, and then kind of have been on that kick ever since.
Yeah. Every fire station, you've got different personalities and different types, and me and you are polar opposites on that. You love waking up in the morning and go to the gym. I like waking up in the morning to a donut and a cup of coffee, and I know that's not okay. So you're somebody that a lot of people lean on for advice or help, but you even do that on the side, right? You're coaching at a gym.
I do. I coach at a local gym downtown. I've coached at a few gyms around, but this has kind of been my home for a while. I coach at 12 Lions Performance. I do coach in the morning because that is my time. I am a morning person, so I do wake up and do that. But outside of that, I also help people meal prep and come up with some fitness goals and plans and regimens as well.
So if somebody is no background at all, I'm just wanting to try something different. I'm not happy with how things are going. I'm not feeling good. I'm tired all the time. What's the first thing? What's the first piece of advice?
I mean, the first piece of advice is really for someone is to get moving. Like a lot of times we have just become stagnant over the time. Social media, our job, we get comfy and we don't want to move anymore. So some of that is just get moving, but also finding a source or people that you can move with and you can work out with, or that can be yours, because it's really hard to do this by yourself. It's really hard to get out of your head and decide that you want to wake up every morning or after work you want to go to the gym. So if you have people that you can do this with, like, that is definitely going to keep you motivated a lot longer. The other part is I would tell you to join a gym. It's very difficult to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
It's just, you're probably not going to go work out in your garage when it's 40 degrees outside. I might, but most people aren't going to go do that. But I wouldn't have done that 8 years ago.
Yeah. And back to when I first came out to 7 as the lieutenant out there, I was in the middle of a weight loss competition right when I came out there. And everybody told me, you're going to feel better. You're going to get to a point where if you don't work out, you don't feel right. And you're going to learn to love it. And for Steve Shakeshaft, that was a lie. I hated every minute of it. But I knew I had to do it. I didn't like it, but I knew I had to do it. And the endurance that I would feel, like, I didn't feel better on a day-to-day basis, but I knew I felt better while working longer.
You didn't feel better because you were hurting from working out? Or
Yes.
yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah. And there is true. You're going to be tired and you're going to hurt. And
Yeah.
a lot of that, like, because working out also goes with what you're eating. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because if you're working out and not fueling yourself with the right foods, it's going to make that hurt and that tired a lot worse than it needs to be.
Yeah, and you brought up that you help people meal plan and stuff like that. I think that was one of the errors that I made. I lost a bunch of weight, but I wasn't eating the right things to fuel my body for those workouts that I was doing. And looking at hindsight, I know that. But what about in a fire station? I mean, that's really hard. We eat some good food in the fire station. So how do you balance that? Because I know you meal prep and you eat a lot on your own. I mean, that was my experience with you when you were at 7. So how do you balance that in life, in the fire station life?
So I do meal prep and eat a lot on my own. Some of that has to do with some autoimmune conditions I have, so that makes things a little bit more difficult to eat with everybody. But I do have to say, when I was at Station 7, they were very good working around that, because they found that if they were also eating the whole foods, they were feeling better. Although that may have been all we were doing at that time, it does help. So it's kind of the education of getting people to realize what is real food versus what is processed food. And it's hard to know, like, we want things in the now. So when you see this food and it's everything terrible for you, but it tastes delicious, it's hard to think about tomorrow or the next day or how you're going to feel later. It's how I feel right now sitting at the dinner table eating this plate of food.
And we also always want cheap. And garbage food is cheap.
It is. Unfortunately, it is. It is cheap. But also it's cheap because we have to eat more of it, because it's empty. It's empty calories. But once you start eating whole foods, you do feel better. But it takes a little bit.
It must take longer than I dedicated to it before I gave up.
Yeah, and also some of that goes on your perspective of what you wanted out of it. If it was a short-term weight loss goal, like, mentally you're probably just, once you reach that goal, you're done. So it's not a long-term thing.
Yeah.
If somebody's looking for a long-term, like, hey, I'm looking to be able to move and dance with my grandkids at their wedding, then they're going to think of their health and fitness in a different way versus, hey, I just want to lose 20 pounds this year.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the other things I want to talk about too, was the choice for it to be a lifestyle versus a goal, right? So I went into it, it was a weight loss challenge to win a prize, and I had a goal. And when that goal was over, so was I.
Yeah, and so that's the thing with people's New Year's resolutions, is also is why a lot of them don't stick, like you talked about before, is because they make these super restrictive, like, lifestyle changes that are unsustainable.
Yeah.
And it's, I want to lose 20 pounds in a month. And so they stop eating everything and they don't eat any carbs, and they, go on and they work out and they do all this stuff, and then they lose their 20 pounds. And then February comes around and I lost my 20 pounds and I went right back to the lifestyle that I was living before, because it's just not sustainable to continue life that way. So you try to find New Year's resolutions when people are doing that of something that is sustainable.
There's another podcaster that I listen to, and he said, when we talk about that very first moment of realizing you need to make a change, is just do something, even if it's just speed walking, right? Because if you don't gradually change your mindset, if it's that rapid change, you may have negative impacts that you didn't expect. So it's that, just do a couch to 5K. the Couch to 5K system or whatever it is, where you just start by walking. And if that's the start, that's better than you were doing before.
Oh, yeah. One of the best things people can do, especially because, you see people out there running and stuff, and that running is not really the best for everybody.
It's literally the only thing I like doing in PT world. It's like the only thing I enjoy.
But if you enjoy it, there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with you doing it. But for the people that don't, it's walking on an incline. Like all the fire stations have a treadmill. And so you'll see people walking around the fire stations, and we tend not to realize like how slow we're walking. And yes, it's great to move, and for cardiovascular reasons, it's great. But you're not really getting the exercise of putting your heart in a little bit of stress and putting your muscles. So it is sitting there and like, go out on the treadmill, put it on an incline, and walk on an incline for 20 minutes. Put a podcast on.
Turn the TV on.
Put a
turn
TV
a
on.
podcast. Exactly.
Something that takes your mind off the fact that you're sitting there. And you don't have to walk fast. You just need to walk uphill. You need to engage those muscles and get the heart rate up a little bit.
In your world of teaching and coaching, how has that helped you? I had mentioned people in the fire service reach out to you and they ask for help or advice or whatever. Has that kind of helped you reach more people? Do you have more folks reaching out to you this time of year or anything like that?
So I wouldn't really say it's this time of year versus like any other time of year. It's usually right before summer that people reach out when they realize like, hey, it's short season and like the boat and the beach and all this stuff is coming out, and now I want to lose some weight.
Now it's too late.
Yeah. Oh, it's too late. Yeah. But right now it's all about the yummy foods and the candies and the cakes and the cookies and all the treats that are out there, and people just aren't willing to give that up right now.
Yeah.
But I also tell people, don't give it up. Like, you don't need to overindulge in it, but enjoy that time. So I really, usually about the first of the year, January, February, you'll get a few people, and then usually it's right around like April, May, June that people really want to. And that's also hard because then family life gets involved when schools get out. And now you've got the kids and you've got vacations, and it seems like there's always something that's getting in the way of your health and fitness goals.
Yeah. And it's good to incorporate your kids into that stuff. I mean, how often do your kids come and work out with you and do stuff with you over the years?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And it's really just about balance. Like, social media and things that we have right now tell us to jump in 100% to everything. And when you're jumping into like health and fitness, it's probably not sustainable for you to just dive headfirst deep into it, because we do have lives. We have lives outside of that. We have families. We have work. Some of us have 2 jobs. Like, there's just things going on. Yeah. So, get your family involved is always going to be the easiest. And then when you get your family involved, then you start getting your firework family involved.
Yeah. You never could convince me. You tried.
No, I tried. And I'm going to continue to try with people, and eventually maybe it'll break it down.
So I'll be 40 this year, and it's one of those things where I don't want to do it, and everyone says you won't do it until you want to, but I am having the realization that I have to. We get our annual physicals, we get all the workup done, and issues I've never had before, I'm having before, so I'm not going to have much of a choice here before long.
Well, I turned 40 this year, and when people said your check engine light comes on when you turn 40, I joked about that. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. No, it really comes on. Like, your body knows you turned 40, and it's like all these things that you didn't think were going to happen, aches and pains, like, they just start happening.
My wake-up call during the physicals, I liked to kind of mess with the nurses a little bit. We get to know them over time, and one year, very recently, I got my heart rate all jacked up right before I went into the physical, intentionally, just to mess with them. So when they hooked me up to the EKG, they were like, what's going on? It was supposed to be a joke. 45 minutes later, there I was, and it wouldn't come back down. Oh, no. I'm laying on a mat, and they're like, are you okay? Like, turning the lights off, like, you need to relax. And I couldn't go through with my physical until it came back down, and it took an hour to get it back down. And that was my kind of like, something's got to give.
Yeah, we're not 20 anymore.
Some aha moment, So speaking of the city, the physicals, what kind of stuff let's talk a little bit about what the city's doing to promote our health and wellness and things that we can do. We're given an hour a day to work out. Everybody gets an hour a day, but I think you've said it 1,000 times, an hour a day, 3 days a week ain't going to do it. So what other kind of things are we doing around the city to kind of promote the concept of true wellness and better living, not just working out?
I mean, yeah, the hour a day is it's better than nothing, but it's just not going to be enough that's going to get you into shape. It might help you sustain some things, but it's not going to get you there.
So we have, the city has some discounts on gym memberships and things like that. But you mentioned we have treadmills in every station. So they're investing, the Smith machines, the treadmills. They're trying to promote that lifestyle change, not simply go work out, do your thing, do whatever. And they're actively trying to promote it.
Oh yeah, they are. And I also sit on the health and wellness committee. So we are actively, like, throughout the year having multiple meetings talking about different equipments we can do, programs we can put into place, partnerships around the city that we can get with the other gyms, some of the yoga places, discounts. There's some of the supplement places and stores, like, they also give discounts to us. They have in bodies where you can go see actually what your weight is versus your muscle mass and your body fat, which is a good place to start for people. And then, like, it is very eye-opening. I did that last year for the first time, and that was an eye-opening experience to realize, like, I think we get caught up on numbers and of how much people weigh, and not what's going on inside their body versus their bones, their muscles, and all of that. But we are definitely working to promote a healthier lifestyle within the fire department. It's just not an easy one, and it's not going to be a 180 turn, because
there's no smoking gun fix. There's no one thing that we can do that's gonna.
No, they're not. And, like, the move from Station 7 to Station 1, Station 7, I could almost always find time to work out. It just was a little bit of a slower station versus Station 1. I was at work yesterday, and I didn't get back to the station until about 4 o'clock. And by then, it's like, it's dinner time, and I'm just not going to go back out there.
Yeah. And one's got, like, a little area in the outbuilding, right? So they actually have, like, a nicer gym setup.
It is actually a very nice little setup. It just... You've got to find the time.
And the city's making investments in our new fire station. So some of the older houses, if you've never been in a Fayetteville fire station, Station 6 and Station 3, they had to turn one of the bedrooms into their gym. It was just the only space to do it. Station 7, it's in the bay. But the newer fire stations are actually getting dedicated gym space. Station 14, Station 12, the city's investing in that dedicated space for us to make sure that we're taking care of our bodies, because we got the best job ever, but it's also going to take a toll on it. So,
100%.
Yeah. So in the world outside the fire department, people don't think about the stresses on our bodies. So we talked about, getting started for the first time, what advice you have for people. But what about firefighters? Or if you're looking to be a firefighter, what's different? What's different in what I should be thinking about? Is there anything different in what I should be thinking about physically to prepare for this job or maintain for this job, as opposed to just a normal everyday person? And if the answer is no, then if there's nothing different, then
no, cool. There is some differences. I wouldn't say there's a whole lot of differences, because I think ultimately when you're thinking health and wellness and fitness, like, you're thinking longevity. So it's what can I do to keep me as healthy for as long as possible. In the fire service, though, we are put up against other challenges that make that a little bit difficult. So we talk about sleep. Like, sleep is one of the most important things. And
think about that.
Yeah. Sleep, like, that's the only way your body can heal. That's the only way you can build muscle. And our sleep is so broken. And because that also rolls over into our sleep when we're home life, like, our sleep is just not as great. So we're really trying to prioritize your sleep while you're in the fire service, coming into the fire service. Like, I was terrible at sleeping when I first came to Station 7. Like, I used to say I was a sleepless elite, and I would sleep for 4 hours a night and I could operate. Like, it was terrible for me, though. Absolutely terrible.
I have no problem sleeping at all.
Yeah,
0.
I know. I'm aware. Yeah, but it did, and it took some years. It took some years of prioritizing sleep, and now I'm in bed at 8:30 like an old lady. But that's also, my body does way better in that. The other part of it is your strength. What we do for firefighting, people don't realize. I also go out and help with PT for the new recruits. And I had a kid out there one time who told me that we were doing in the middle of PT, and he told me that he thought it was a punishment for doing PT because he wanted to be a firefighter. And I was like, well, I don't think this is punishment, but, like, firefighting is hard. Like, by the time you put all your gear on and you can't breathe and you're carrying tools, like, there's a lot of work being done.
Adrenaline will only take you so far.
Oh, yeah.
It will take you places, but only so far.
And it's going to take you there for that short little burst, and then you're done. And so it's really just getting yourself, being able to move your body weight well, and being able to move through that, when we put gear on, like how hard it is to move when we put gear on. So once you're moving your body well without gear, you're going to move it a lot better with gear. Strength is such a big part of it. And like there's truth to weight moves weight. So some of the bigger people in the department are going to move more weight than I'm going to move. But I think that's why as a female, I've worked so hard to be strong, because at the end of the day, like I have to try really hard to be as strong as a weak male.
It didn't look like you were trying that hard when you picked up that dummy in the burn building. You looked like you had it under control.
No, I did have that one under control. But I also, prior to coming there, I worked really hard because I also didn't want to be the weak link. So I didn't want to be the person that was going to need help. So it was, I'm going to be strong and I'm going to be in shape, and we're going to do this as a team, because the stronger, you're only as strong as your weak link. I think cardio is one that people don't.
I said it once, I said it 1,000 times. The first thing we do in our physical ability test is smoke you. The first thing you do is 4 flights of stairs 3 times, and tasks that were not hard are now hard because you're tired. We have bodybuilders fail our test because they can't get that cardio base.
Oh yeah,
down.
I've watched them. I've watched people come through there helping out with that, thinking, oh, they got this, no problem, and then realizing like they can't breathe. And when you can't breathe, like it just gets very difficult. Things get very difficult. So it really is, it's putting that stress on your body, and also getting out of your head. A lot of times it's the little, it's between our ears that causes us to fail. So it's the, I don't want to go anymore. I'm tired. This hurts. And that's usually the times that you've got to push yourself a little bit more, a little bit further.
If you ask what happens if Captain McBee hears you say the words "I quit," how that goes over.
Yeah, it's not
in your brain. Everything is in your brain. Overcome it. So you brought up mobility, motion, being able to move in and out of gear. We used to do back in the day yoga every Friday, and that was eye-opening for me. I didn't realize stretching was so hard.
It really is. And we don't really think about that because we sit in fire trucks and we sit during the day and we do these things, and all of our muscles and ligaments and tendons start to shorten, and we just don't get up and stretch. And then our knees start hurting, our hips start hurting, our back starts hurting. And people think like, oh, it's because there is some truth to some of that is weak muscles. But a lot of that is because your tendons and your ligaments are pulling. And just sitting down there and stretching for 20 minutes a day will cause some of those pains to go away. I, about a year ago, had some of the people in the department going through an app that you did have to pay for it, but it's like $16 a month. I think worth it when you think about all the things you spend $16 a month on. And you
spend $16 a week on coffee.
Yeah, but you don't have, you just turn it on, and every day there is a new stretch, and it gives you a person who has like good mobility and flexibility versus someone who's struggling. So like a scaled down version of it, and you kind of just follow along where you're at, and you'll see throughout the time like knee pain starts going away, hip pain starts going away. Just, it is definitely something as adults that we don't do as much as we should.
Yeah. So basically, just to wrap it up, anything we talked about, that first piece of advice, that long term, anything else that we can tell the firefighter community first, and then the general community second, for your new year, you've decided to try something different. What's the last piece of here you go, here's my best piece of advice for you?
So if you're looking at a new year and you're looking to get healthy and fit, or anything in that realm, I would say pick something that you know is obtainable. So pick something that's obtainable and check in on it. Check in on it, write it down, tell your family, tell your friends, and check in on it like weekly, monthly, see where you're going, but also allow yourself some grace when you don't hit those markers that you were looking to hit, but make sure you're going in that right direction. I mean, it's the little changes add up to big changes. A lot of times we want those big changes, and they're not going to happen without a lot of little changes.
And then next month we have our physical ability testing for new firefighters. What's a piece of advice for people coming out to that? Somebody who wants to work for the Fayetteville Fire Department, and that test is less than 2 months away.
Start working now.
Now, if you haven't already, you're doing it wrong.
If you haven't already, start working now. Get a weight vest, grab some weights, put a backpack, put something in it, and just start moving. Start moving around with it.
I had somebody give me, when I did that weight loss challenge, they gave me a 50-pound weight vest. It was their present to me, helping me motivate, and it totally was a game changer. Just wearing the weight vest, mopping the bay floor, wearing the weight vest, doing dishes, just having that extra 50 pounds on me all day long was a game changer.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then think about how it feels when it comes off, though. But that's
Yeah.
also part of it when you lose that weight. Like, you're also losing that weight that you've been carrying around.
Yeah. So, well, Amanda, thanks for coming and hanging out with me today. I know it's your day off. You've got, kids to spend time with and work to do, but thank you for being here and hanging out with me.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So just to put this kind of in perspective for everybody, as we are wrapping up, in 2022, there were over 63 million injuries in the United States and $1.2 billion in cost to those American citizens getting hurt. So just keep in mind, get out there, stretch, start by doing anything. If that means you're just walking 30 minutes a day to get the ball rolling, go walk. That's awesome. It's more than we were doing before. If that means getting out and running 2 miles a morning, wherever you're at, find the next step to push yourself and prevent those injuries, those heart attacks, and all those negative health impacts going forward. But thank you for joining us on the Fayetteville Fire Podcast. Be sure to tune in to Radio Fayetteville on all your favorite streaming platforms and listen to all of our podcasts. Join us again next month, but until then, stay safe, Fayetteville.